Welcome to the Coach's Corner. Today we're taking a look at Stage 4, Topic 12, and Episode 4 in this series, The Hiring Trap. Why bringing people in without systems underneath them doesn't create leverage, it creates management. Today's breakdown. Here's what we're going to be covering today. 1. The hire that didn't solve the problem. 2. What leverage actually requires. 3. The supervision loop and what it creates. 4. What the hire was set up without. 5. Task handoff versus outcome handoff. 6. What a hire looks like when systems exist first. And 7. Summary. At stage 4, many founders think the same thing. I need help, so they hire. And relief does not come. Today, we'll look at why. We'll cover the hire that didn't solve the problem, what help actually needs, the supervision loop, task handoff versus outcome handoff, and why the order actually matters. Let's start with the hire that didn't solve the problem. Hiring was supposed to create time back, more room for clients, less weight on your shoulders, a business that could run without you and everything. But what happened instead? More check ins, more reviews, more corrections, a different kind of involvement, not less involvement. The person is not always the problem. Often, they walked into work that was never explained clearly. That's what we're looking to cover today. Hiring without systems doesn't give the founder their time back. It gives the founder a new job. Managing someone who can't do what the founder does because the founder never explained how. Let's dig into this a little bit further. What the hire was supposed to create, again, time back for the founder, capacity to take on more clients, relief from operational weight, a business that can run without the founder involved in everything, and the first step towards real scale. But without a system, what the hire actually created was another person to check in with constantly, work to review, correct, and redo, a different kind of involvement, no less time consuming, the realization that everything still runs through that founder. No decisions get made without them. And then the question, why isn't this working? Hiring doesn't automatically solve problems. Having a system, having onboarding, having something where you can train them and walk them through the process, that is where you start to alleviate some of that extra stress and pressure. Without it, you're just paying someone to be able to make things look smoother and more efficient, but it doesn't necessarily guarantee you those results. What leverage actually requires. Help is not just adding a person. Help needs something clear to hand off. A person needs a process. They need to know what success looks like. They need to know how decisions get made. They need something to follow. And if not, inevitably they come back to you. And that recreates the same problem. You're no longer doing every task, but you are still answering every question. And that's not relief. That's just a new job. Let's take a look at this a little bit closer. Leverage isn't a headcount decision. It's a system decision that a headcount decision can then execute against. Reversed, it doesn't work. Let's take a look at 3 different ways of breaking this down. 1, something to hand off, not just someone to hand it off to. The founder who hires before documenting their process puts a person in a position with no reference point for success. So that person defaults to asking the founder every single question that they can think of, everything that comes up along the way, which essentially just recreates the same involvement, just in a different form. And you're paying for the privilege. Two, the outcome defined, not just a task. A task handed off without defining what success looks like produces work that must be reviewed against the founder's undocumented standards. How will they know what great looks like if you don't have examples of what great is? That review is the founder's involvement. Unchanged substance, just moved later into the process. You're still involved. You still have to get the final say. Whereas if you document things and you give them examples and you train them, they'll feel more confident in being able to take on the task and free you up to be able to take on a task that actually requires only you. Three, a business that can onboard, not just hire. Hiring is not the hard part. Giving a person something real to orient against is the hard part. The business that can genuinely onboard a hire into a documented process with clear standards already has a system. The hire then executes. That's leverage. When you know you can hand something off to someone and there's no drop off in the experience, no drop off in the results, that's a good hire. That's someone that's going to alleviate some of the problems that you're facing, the challenges, the time constraints, and it's going to allow you to start looking at how to be able to scale. You may be able to take on 5, 10, 15, 20 clients yourself. Bring someone in that can replicate that process allows you to add additional 5, 10, 15, 20. And that's what scale really starts to look like. The supervision loop and what it creates. Here's the loop. A hire joins. There's no clear process. They make their best guess. The work does not match your hidden standard. You review it, you correct it, you explain what you wanted, then they try again. The loop repeats. Soon, they learn to ask before doing anything important. Now you're the checkpoint for everything. By not documenting things, you're not only putting yourself in a position where you're going to have to answer those questions, but you're hiring someone and creating second doubts for them every time you have to correct what it is that they do. So the supervision loop forms when a hire is brought in without systems. Recognizing it is the first step. One, hire joins, no documented process to orient against. Two, hire makes judgment call based on their best guess. They're motivated, they're incentivized, they want to be able to show that they can do the best things for the company and add value. Three, work doesn't match the founder's undocumented standard. You were close, you almost had it, but here's what you were missing. And that's on a good day. That's something that starts to create doubt. That makes that person second guess. Four, founders review, correct, and explain what they wanted. By not having something documented, you have to stop what you're doing to be able to review it, correct it, explain what you want, and then still have to go back and check it again. That's adding more work, not taking work away. Five, the hire tries again, using the corrections as their new guide. One is taking preventative measures. Reactionary solution is the founder has to stop doing what they're doing in order to be able to review the work. A precautionary measure is creating a system, documenting it, showing them what good looks like, showing them what bad looks like, and giving them the opportunity to be able to fall on the right side of that scale. Six, the loop repeats. Founders' involvement never actually decreases. When you have to stay involved in the process and you're paying someone to be able to do the work, but you still have to walk them through it, you basically just moved it from one side of the desk to the next, and you're paying for the privilege to be able to do so. That's problematic. And it's going to cut into your cost. It's going to cut into your profit. It's going to cut into how you can grow and scale the business. Task handoff versus outcome handoff. A task handoff says, do this, but it doesn't explain what success looks like. So the standard stays in your head. That means you still have to review everything. An outcome handoff says, here's what done looks like. Now the person has a shared target. They can check their own work. They can make better decisions. That's the difference. One creates supervision, the other creates real help. Let's talk about what it looks like when it doesn't go well. Let's talk about the outcome handoff. When you can define what success looks like before the work begins, you're giving them a frame of reference. The standard is documented and it's accessible. If they have questions, they can review the training. They can review the examples. It produces work that can be evaluated against and shared as a reference. It answers the questions before the questions come. It allows the founder to exit the review loop. It also highlights who is a quick learner and who needs extra handholding. It lets you know if you hired right, and it helps you start to become better at hiring and outsourcing work. It creates a hire who can make decisions, not just follow instructions. Hiring someone that can follow instructions requires you to be involved. Hiring someone that can confidently make decisions, not just where they're confident, but you're confident in their ability to make those decisions, completely different situation, and one that empowers you and allows your business to grow and scale. Summary: the hiring trap in plain terms. It's the simple truth. Hiring without written steps creates management, not relief. You need something to hand off, not just someone to hand it off to. The supervision loop is not always a people problem, it's often a clarity problem. The order matters. Write down the work, define the outcome, then hire into that clarity. Make sure that you have something that you can walk someone through. It will help you figure out if you hired the right person or if you're tempted to bring in the wrong person. That is when help can actually help. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, like, share, and subscribe. The goal here is to be able to help you not just get to six figures, but for the people that have made it to six figures to start figuring out how to be able to grow and scale from there. Because typically at this point, this is when you start to bring other people in that you're not only going to be holding accountable, but you're going to be responsible for. I'll see you in the next episode.